Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's card making video, I am bringing you episode 3 of my It's a Lawn Fawn Christmas series. I'm making this North Pole shaker card. I love shaker cards. They are my favorite, and I'm all about Santa. Like, I love all things vintage Santa. So I'm excited about today's card. Last week's episode, I made this cute sloth card and tag ornament, and I was giving away some paste, and the winner is Kate. Your name went across the screen just now. I will be notifying you of your win and getting your address. Okay, let's look at the stamp sets I'm using today. That was the Ho Ho Holidays. I'm also using the Holiday Helpers and this Christmas Village stamp set, and then some dies. This is the Forest Backdrop die set, which, as you can see, I have yet to use. I'm also using the simple stitched hillside borders and the new snowflake backdrop that is stitched and so beautiful. So I'm going to start by making some backgrounds. I'm using my most favorite distress color, Salvaged Patina. It's so good. I'm just using a regular foam style blending tool and applying a layer of this across my cardstock. Then I'll splatter that with some water. I like to let the water sit for just a minute while I get my paper towel and then pick up the excess water. It gives it so much depth. Now I'm going to splatter this with some liquid Stardust from Lawn Fawn. When my bottle got really low, I put some water in it, and now I just use it for splatter like this, and it works perfect. I love extending the life of that. Okay, that's going to be for my snowflake panel. Now let's move on to the ink blending for my card front that's going to have that forest scene on it. I am using some Rustic Wilderness and just going all around the edge since the middle will be die cut out. I'm also going to spritz that with water just like before. It's my favorite thing about Distress Oxide, so I always, like 99.99% of the time, I'm going to splatter it. So there's the water splatter and then the liquid Stardust just to carry that same feel over from the inside of this background to the outside of this background. When I die cut this, since it's already the same size as the die, I put it face down onto that forest backdrop and taped it in place, and I put my cutting plate on top. I also die cut out the trees from this set from some light green glitter cardstock, and I just love the way that that looked. Added an element of glitter, and when you're making a North Pole Christmas scene, gotta have some glitter in there. So that's what I did, and I love how it turned out. You also would need snow for a North Pole scene, right? So I have some white acrylic paint that I'm going to splatter over the entire panel here. I wanted those trees to be on there first so they would have some snow on them too. I think I could have added even a little bit more because this will dry back lighter. Next, it's time to die cut out that snowflake backdrop. I love these stitched snowflakes. So good. I also felt like I would add a little bit of white snow to that once I put these two together. So I did that with some more white acrylic paint. Now it's time to stamp out all the images I'm using for today's card. I did forget the candy cane, and I did go ahead and stamp that from the Holiday Helpers set, and I'm going to Copic color these. So I am starting with R46 as my darkest color for Santa, and I'm just going to drop that in wherever I want the darkest areas or the shadows to be. And then I'll bring in my mid-tone, which is R29 Lipstick Red. This might be my favorite red. I love it. All right, so I'll add that to my project, just softening that line that is the shadow and extending the colored area out farther before adding in my lightest color, R17. And I seem to always use R17 as my lightest red color, especially around this time of year. All right, for Santa's beard and white areas, I'm using N2, N1 and N0, adding some shadows to his beard and just making it so that it's not perfectly white with a little bit of detail in it. And I love how that turned out. For his belt, I thought let's keep using the neutral gray marker. So I have N9 N7 and N5. Now, this is such a small area. You really could just use one marker or two. I was just like so into the coloring today and having lots of fun with it. So for his face, I used E13 and E11, left a little bit of white at the bottom so I could make some rosy cheeks with my R20 marker. And the last thing for Santa will be his belt. So I'm using YR15 and then just a touch of E13 on the edges, and that helps mute it down a little bit and make it look more like gold, in my personal opinion. All right, so I also colored Mrs. Claus and did the same thing. I added some green, but I'll show you the greens here in a minute after we do this cute reindeer. So I used E59, I don't remember the darkest one, but I had it there up on the screen. Now I'm using E47 as my mid-tone, and then my lightest will be E27. So this will be the main color of my super cute reindeer. I love these little guys, and I think you have lots of options when coloring these to color them really light. I did a deer card on my last video, and I colored that deer really light, but for some reason today I was like, this one's got to be like brown. Maybe because it's Rudolph, and we have a Build-A-Bear Rudolph, which by the way is the cutest thing that we got several years ago when my daughter was little. And so I think I'm kind of coloring him today to look like that Build-A-Bear animal. So he's really cute. I use that same E13 and E11. Once I pull out markers for a project, I tend to grab them again and again for other coloring in that project, and it really helps keep things kind of cohesive. All right, for my greens, I'm using E28 as my darkest color, so I'm putting that down first. I'll blend that out with my G19 marker, my mid-tone marker, and you can see I'm just making that colored area larger as I go, and then G14 as my lightest color, which is a nice bright color, really makes a nice highlight. I really wanted her tights to be striped, but they're just so small, so I just used one color to fill that in. I'm giving her some gold shoes and a gold belt buckle and a black belt, and then I thought this little elf kind of looked like my niece, Claire, so I colored her to have some kind of strawberry blonde hair. It kind of works. I'm not sure about this YR02. It kind of got a little bit pink. I did end up going over it one more time with that lightest color, and I think that helped a little bit. So I'll give her some rosy cheeks as well and add a little gray to the white areas on her hat to finish that off. And then I wanted to show you how I colored the trees, just using the same greens, but using lines to color it in to give it a little bit of texture and interest, and not going all the way to that scallop to leave a white edge, which helps it have like a snowy feel. I only used one marker for the trunk of the tree, and wow, these were so fun to color. All the rest was very simple coloring, and all the colors I had already used, except I used Y15 on the light in the lantern, and then a little dot of that YR15. And then you can see the cute little duck there. Oh, love it. All right, so now it's time to add some white gel pen highlights. I added some to the trees for a little bit more snowy look, kind of softened it out with my finger. And then I wanted to show you the white gel pen on these houses because I wanted them to have a little bit of a gingerbread house feel, just a touch. So I added some gel pen highlights that might look a little bit like frosting. So they would have kind of a festive feel for this North Pole inspired card. And there they are, all highlighted. Next, it's time to die cut out everything with the coordinating dies. And look how cute they are. Oh my gosh. And now it's time to start making the scene. But I need a little hill for my houses to sit on. So now it's time to use this simple stitched hillside border. I added a little ink to the edge with what was left on my sponge, not adding any more to it. So it just has a dusting of color, and then a little bit of that liquid Stardust, of course. Love it. And then this is going to be glued on to that snowflake background. And then I have a place for my little houses to sit on, or maybe they're Santa's workshop. And then I'll just glue in those pieces. So this is going to be it for my background. I'm going to take some thin foam tape and go all the way around the edge. I'm using very tiny shaker elements, so I really have to make sure that all the corners and edges of that foam tape touch. So these are micro beads. I've had them forever, and I've been using them like crazy this year and using them to make shaker cards. It makes the best snow. They're kind of frosted instead of completely clear, and when they like stick to the plastic or they you know, kind of hang out there, it really looks like snow, a little icy snow scene. Don't you love that sound? Okay, so I laid my background top panel in place so I could figure out where I wanted to glue down my a little elf. You can see she's holding the candy cane to lure that little Rudolph in, maybe to get him set up on the sleigh, get him, you know, all in line. And then I added all those other stamped elements to the front of this panel. Now I wanted the front panel to be very sturdy and raised up a tiny bit, so I cut out 2 additional backgrounds and glued them together before gluing them to the back of this, and I used a heavyweight cardstock for that. So it's going to raise this up just as much as I wanted it to, but not so much as foam tape would. So now I can glue the entire thing down to my background, and I've got this adorable layered up scene. Now it's time to stamp out my sentiment. So I picked the Merry Christmas. I love the font of this, and it's from that Ho Ho Holidays stamp set. I'm going to emboss it with white on red. I just love that look for Christmas, the white letters on red paper. So good. So we'll sprinkle on the powder and then heat melt that with my heat gun. So cool. There's no die for this, so I did something super scary and I fussy cut around this. I'm not the best when it comes to fussy cutting a sentiment, but I just went for it, and I figure it's good. Like, I'm the only one that's going to critique it. I tried just gluing this down, but realized I needed a little bit of cardstock behind the center of this because it was sagging down, because remember, that outer frame has 2 additional cardstock layers. So once I did that, it was good to go. Next, I am stamping out some snowflakes. These are from the Holiday Helper set, and I'm going to color those in with BG11. I just needed a little bit more accent for the top corners of my card. So this color is closely resembling my background color, and I loved that. So I'm going to add 3 of these to each corner to finish that out, and I love that little accent there. I keep thinking maybe I need to add some like glitter glue to them. I might still do that. We'll see, but I haven't done it yet. So then I wanted to show you, when you have those die cuts and you layer them up to make it thicker, sometimes they might get a little bit off. I just sanded it down a little bit, and I wasn't sure if that was going to work or if I was crazy, but it totally helped. So I wanted to pass that on to you, to sand down your edges if they stick out like mine did. All right, I'm gluing this down to an A2 size card. I needed heavyweight cardstock for this because my front panel is so thick. But man, I love a thick card. I like layers and dimensions. So I guess it's extra postage time for Christmas cards this year. But you know, I can't help myself. When you get in a creative role, you just go with it. The card just kind of takes on a life of its own. And we have Mrs. Claus handing out cookies to Santa, but he doesn't know that those cookies have like flax in them and chia seeds and all the good stuff, because she knows he's only going to eat cookies tonight, so he might as well have something healthy. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching this episode with me. I'll be back next week with another episode, so make sure you tune in next Tuesday. If you're interested in the supplies, they are linked for you below. And if you like this video, let me know with a thumbs up, and I'll see you all again very soon. Happy stamping! Bye!